Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Rachel Williams begins now.
Thousands of Tasmanians have turned out to the polls as a desperate race for 2 marginal seats comes to an end. For more now, we're joined by our reporter Sean McComish. Sean, there was perhaps an unprecedented push to secure seats in the north of the state today.
That's right, Rachel. Scott Morrison was back in Bass and Braddon, and it shows just how seriously the Prime Minister is taking Tasmania in his fight to cling to power. In fact, nobody can quite remember the last time there was a Prime Minister in the state on election day. Now, I'll start by talking about Braddon, which is held on a slim margin of just 1.7% with Labor's Justine Kay. She held on to it at last year's by-election, but things have changed this time around. Electoral boundaries have changed slightly in the government's favour, and rogue fisherman Craig Garland, who made waves as an independent, is now casting his net in the Senate, so his preferences won't be able to flow on to Labor again. Now, in Bass, the margin is a little larger on 5.4%, but voters there are unforgiving and often vote incumbents out. That said, Ross Hart has told me he's sleeping well at night. Now, polls have just closed and counting is underway. Let's take a look at how Election Day 2019 unfolded in Tasmania. In what could be his final day as Prime Minister, Scott Morrison began his morning once more in Tasmania.
I'm hungry. Okay.
Serving up snags to Bass voters in Launceston and stretching his last-minute blitz to Braddon.
Mate, it's great to be here in Tassie again. Great to be here in Ulverston. Dan, how are you?
It was the exact same spot where his predecessor, Malcolm Turnbull, made his by-election pitch last July. But today, the stakes were higher.
These are the seats that are going to decide who the next Prime Minister is, not just who the next great member is with our peers here in Braddon, but they really will decide. Tasmania, in significant ways, is going to decide what happens in this election.
The Braddon contest between Gavin Pearce and Justine Kay is Tasmania's tightest, on just a 1.7% margin.
Well, it's an exciting day. Quietly confident but also very nervous. I think what I'm sort of hearing today is people are wanting a bit of a change, and I'm hoping that will translate into votes for Labor.
But it's almost as close in Bass, where sitting members like Labor's Ross Hart face a historical struggle to keep their seat. The sprawling electorate of Lyons had been in play at the start of the campaign, until Liberal candidate Jessica Whelan was forced to resign over a social media scandal. Today, that left Just Nationals contender Deanna Hutchinson taking up the coalition fight against Brian Mitchell. In the south, the seat of Franklin is considered safe for Labor's Julie Collins, while Clark's Andrew Wilkie wasn't sweating at the polling station.
I don't take any votes for granted, and I'm not overly confident. I'm quietly confident. So I will stand here today right up until closing time and talk to as many people as I can and simply ask them to vote for me.
The fight is also underway for 6 Senate spots, with the Greens' Nick McKim casting his ballot. Unaligned Labor Senator Lisa Singh faces an uphill battle after being placed 4th on the ticket.
We're hoping for a Labor win today.
At least 2 spots are expected to be snapped up by both Labor and the Liberals, but when it comes to Tassie politics, anything is possible.
That's it. Never give up.
Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
Police say a 29-year-old man died in his mother's arms after being shot in the chest this morning. Crime investigators spending the day searching the Ravenswood property for clues.
Investigators examining the bins at this Ravenswood property. Emergency crews arriving at the scene at around 7:50 this morning, but were unable to revive Timothy Matthew Gardner from a severe injury.
We can confirm at this stage it appears that Tim has died from a single gunshot wound to the chest.
With police revealing this tragic detail.
He turned up there this morning still alive, but unfortunately died on the in the lounge room, basically in his mother's arms, which is really tragic.
Police are treating the incident as suspicious and believe his mother's residence on Blythe Street may not be where the 29-year-old was shot.
We're working on it at the moment. We're not sure how far away it occurred. It's happened in a very short time prior to him turning up at his mother. So, in that 6 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. time slot.
Police are now appealing for anyone who may have been in contact with Mr Gardner within the past 48 hours to come forward.
So we obviously talk to whoever we can, but the ones that we haven't spoken to, we want them to come forward and talk to us so we can just put that timeline together and really hone in on exactly how this occurred.
Anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. Ruby Kamain, 7 Tasmania News.
They may be too young to vote, but that didn't stop a group of teenage environmentalists sharing their voice outside polling booths across the state today. Part of a nationwide movement, the Australian Youth Climate Coalition urged Tasmanians to prioritise climate change when filling out their ballot papers.
I'm too young to vote at the moment, but we're trying to ask other people to vote, think about us when they're voting today and our future, and to inform them, make sure they're informed when they vote.
The public was also offered scorecards showing the major parties' stances on climate action.
To the TSL now, and Lauderdale has returned to the winners list after being pushed by Launceston at Windsor Park. The Blues led at half-time, but the Southern Bombers showed class up forward to record a 3-goal win.
Rejuvenated from the round 7 bye, the Blues applied some early pressure on the scoreboard, courtesy of coach Mitch Thorpe. Jay Blackberry showing no signs of rust in his first game for the season, helping the home side along to a 2-goal buffer. Lauderdale responding in turn, booting the next 2 majors of the match to keep things interesting. Thorpe soon had another to his name as things heated up. Ryan Wiggins slotting one after the siren to make it a 1-point difference at the first change. The arm wrestle continued, with the sides unable to be separated on the scoreboard for most of the second, the Blues eventually breaking through to take the 8-point lead at the main break. A couple of quick third-quarter majors seeing it extended to 19, but the Bombers weren't going down without a fight, booting their way back into the match and taking a 3-point lead into the home stretch. The visitors then finishing strong, holding on to top spot on the TSL ladder with an 18-point win. It was one for the ages at North Hobart Oval as the Old Scholars and SFL representative teams battled it out for bragging rights. Richmond's Alex Gilmore was on fire for the Old Scholars, booting 5 majors during a first-quarter goal fest, which saw just a major in it heading into the second. Gilmore wasn't just doing damage on the scoreboard, with Jake Murphy needing to be stretchered off the ground following this heavy hit. The Old Scholars threatening to run away with the match, boasting a 32-point lead at 3-quarter time before the SFL's best cut the margin back down to 8 in a nail-biting finish, but the Old Scholars managed to hang on, getting it done by 14 points. Tom Cooper, 7 Tasmania News.
The Launceston Tornadoes are back on the winners list following a hard-fought win over Albury-Wodonga in overtime overnight. It was a similar story for the Thunder, which got the job done in front of a home crowd.
Desperate to get their season back on track, things didn't go to plan early for the Tawns as the Bandits helped themselves to a 7-point lead at the end of the first period. Launceston found some rhythm in the second, with the locals and imports sharing the load to keep the Tawns right in it. Spurred on by the home crowd, the side found another gear in the third to claw back the difference and set things up for an intense final term. With the momentum in their favour, the Tawns kept coming, denying the Bandits victory by squaring it up on the scoreboard and forcing the game into overtime. The home side then digging deep to record their 3rd win of the season by 5 points. The Thunder never looked troubled against the Bandits' men's side in Ulverston, storming out of the gates to give themselves a handy 27-point lead at the first break. From there it was smooth sailing as the side jumped up to 8th spot on the league ladder with a dominant 22-point win. And Richie Port is showing signs of returning to his best on the bike after months of battling illness, climbing from 13th to 5th on the overall standings at the Tour of California following an impressive ride during Stage 6. Tom Cooper, 7 Tasmania News.
Good evening. 19 was the state's warmest today in Hobart and Burnie, with temperatures reaching 17 in Launceston and Devonport. Other centres today, 18 was a popular temperature across Grove, Smithton and King Island, Lyowini 13, Strawn and Flinders Island 17 and Lowhead reaching 16. On the close-up, low-level cloud over the west and far south, clear skies elsewhere. On the satellite, a frontal cloud band is moving into a low pressure system over the western bight from central Australia. Connective low cloud can also be seen over parts of Northern Territory, Queensland and New South Wales. Tomorrow, a low over the bight extends a decaying front between the two highs over South Australia. North to northwesterly winds tomorrow below 10 knots, swells up to 3 metres in the west and south and below 1 metre in the north. Tomorrow's forecast now 17 and mostly sunny, a popular temperature across Hobart, Richmond and Ouse. In the north, morning fog reaching 17 in Launceston, Devonport, 16 and a partly cloudy day for Deloraine. Burnie tomorrow, partly cloudy, Strawn 17 and Curry reaching 18. A mostly sunny day for both St Helens and Swansea, Whitemart reaching 17. Looking to the 3-day forecast now, Monday showers about the northwest extending to most areas in the afternoon. Tuesday partly cloudy about the southeast and east, showers elsewhere. And finally Wednesday, light showers about the west, far south and Bass Strait Islands, fine elsewhere. Capital cities Perth and Melbourne tomorrow, a mostly sunny day reaching a top of 21. Sydney 23, Canberra and Darwin mostly sunny and Adelaide reaching a high of 22. And on to current temperatures, Hobart 13, partly cloudy, Launceston 10 and clear, Devonport 11 and clear. That is all in the weather tonight. Back to you, Rach.
Thanks for that, Jackie. Well, that's all your news for now. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you tomorrow at 6. Bye for now.